I got a call on the radio, so I just kind of walked off. I was going down to check on one of the points, and as I'm walking, I felt like almost like somebody came up behind you and kind of jumped on your back.
Yeah.
It was Bert.
Jumping on your back? The deer.
Bert's 2 front paws were on my shoulders, and he was licking my ear.
He was getting you ready. That's
I turned around, and me and Bert were running down the trace, and he was chasing me as fast as I could go. I was like, "No, Bert, no,
No, Bert, please."
Welcome back, everybody, to the CF Podcast. I am Clint, and to my right, we've got the voice himself, Ryan.
What's up, guys?
And with us today, special guest, we've got Mike from Sylvan Arms. Mike, is it Baldasarre?
Yes, that's very good.
That's good?
Yes.
Oh,
wow.
And that doesn't usually happen on the first try.
Yeah, that is literally the first time, because we've been on video together. I've always said Mike from Sylvan Arms. Yeah. But actually, I did it. No, look at that. High five of me.
Yeah.
You know, you and I hit it off pretty freaking quick. I mean, we're both Marines.
That's right.
Right? And as soon as we found that out, we were like, oh, do we just become best friends? And it's like, yeah, we did. So that was pretty cool. So Sylvan Arms, first of all, you know, what is your position within Sylvan? Because you don't own it. We know that, right? We've all met Sylvan. So what's your position at Sylvan?
So I guess sales and marketing would be, but we're a smaller company, so everybody kind of does everything. Yeah. So R&D also, and so it's fun because you get to put your hand in everything.
Yeah, wow, that sounds kind of familiar.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah, all right, well, that's really cool. Okay, so we first met a couple years ago, and I want to say, you know, at that point, you know, for those of you that don't know, Sylvan Arms is definitely known for that folding stock or brace adapter, but folding buffer tube adapter for the AR series rifle, right, or the AR style. And we torture tested. What was that? Was that the Gen 2 or Gen 3? I can't remember.
I think that was the Gen 3 when it first came out.
Yeah. So the Gen 3 folding adapter, we torture tested it, and I actually wound up breaking the gun relatively soon, relatively quick into the video before actually ever even. Well, I never broke the adapter, right? And so my thought process was, well, if the gun breaks before the adapter does, we're not really too concerned about going much further, are we?
Yeah, exactly.
But we did. we kept wanting to make sure it was going to work. So, cool. Well, how did you get hooked up with Sylvan Arms?
Short story long. I was working at the time for the city of North Myrtle Beach as a police officer, and I knew some of the guys that worked there, and I bought some of the stuff, and they said, hey, you know, you should really come work for us. We're looking to move into the government world, and we'd love for you to come on board and help us out. And I was like 4 months shy of my 27th year.
Oh, wow.
And I was thinking, you know, maybe it's time to move on. I'm getting kind of old for this young man's job.
Sure.
Maybe I should find something new. So I went and talked to him, and it seemed like a fun place. You know, it'd be a good retirement gig to do. And so far it's been really neat.
Dude, well, that's pretty awesome, man. So first of all, I didn't even know you were in law enforcement.
Yeah, when I got out of the Marine Corps, after I got out of the Marine Corps, I went into law enforcement.
And you were in law enforcement for 27 years?
27 years.
That is a long time.
So six years in the Marine Corps and then 27 years in law enforcement. So 33 years altogether.
Yeah.
Wow,
so
that's impressive.
Yeah, I was going to ask about how long you were in the Marines. So when did you join?
Went in the Marine Corps 85, right out of high school.
Wow, man, that is awesome, dude. So what was your MOS?
0311.
Oh, man, 0311. So for those of you that don't know what an 0311 is, that is your rifleman. That is your infantryman. And so let's see, 85 to 91 and for 6 years, right? And so, man, dude, that was a fun time, right?
So I've been blessed throughout my life completely. So right out of boot camp, or actually while I was in boot camp, I got selected for, I think they still call it the Yankee White program.
Oh, I don't even know.
So that's the security
forces.
Well,
yeah.
So at the White House at Camp David.
Oh, wow. I see. Okay, all right, yeah.
So went through that whole selection process, and you start out at the Marine Barracks. So worked there for a while, which was great. General P.X. Kelly was the commandant, and General Gray was coming on board. So worked at the barracks. So there we got to do stuff with the Commandant of the Marine Corps and the Chief of Naval Operations.
Oh, wow.
And then when you're finally cleared for everything, you get to go to either the White House or Camp David, and I chose to go up to Camp David. So
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Reagan was president at the time.
Yeah, dude.
So
Wow.
phenomenal. He stayed there a lot. He was always up there, and if he wasn't, the Bushes came up. So,
You had your hands full.
it was a great time because they were great people and were always out and about. They would stop by and talk to you. Ronald Reagan would show up in the chow hall. You'd look up and he'd be pulling a chair out next to you to sit down.
Oh, wow.
Barbara Bush, they came up a lot for the holidays, and she would take cookies out to everybody that had to work for Christmas
Yeah.
and give them to them. So it was
Cool.
it was really, really cool.
That is really neat. All right, so I mean, Camp David, dude, you're thinking. I mean, how long has Camp David been around? I mean, like a long time now,
Yeah.
and
Well, we were talking back to FDR days,
right?
Mm-hmm.
And back then it was they called it Shangri-La.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
That's
Mhm.
funny.
Dude, it's so cool to think about because you got to think every sitting president pretty much goes to Camp David, right? And so, during your time there, I mean, so you're pretty much ultimately just providing security there, right? So I assume you're armed and everything, right?
Yeah. So and you're the whole time, even when he's there, you're armed. So it's one of
Yeah.
the few places that
You're armed with the
you're
president.
armed with the president.
Wow. See, I always thought, and probably some other viewers thought this too, it was Secret Service that was protecting around the White House and Camp David. I don't know if that's still the case.
So the agents will always be there.
Right.
Okay.
When they came up to Camp David, they still came up and they stayed up there. They had their own barracks, for lack of a better term, to stay and all. But we provided physical security for the camp.
Gotcha.
So they deferred to us, I guess you could say. But they were always great. They liked going up there because it kind of gave them a break.
Right. Yeah, man, that is really interesting. And so, I mean, when I think Camp David, like I said, I think all these different presidents. I think like a vacation home, right? And that's kind of like where it is. But I've got to ask, just because I mean, are there any funny stories? I mean, you're talking presidents, vice presidents, stuff like that. I mean, did you see anything that was kind of wild? I mean, we're seeing right on the White House. I mean, cocaine. So I mean, that's one thing.
Yeah, we never saw anything like that. I don't think Ron was really into that.
But yeah, so I was just curious, if anything cool or funny happened like that while you were out there.
Probably the best stories any of that crew up there at that time would have was, it's up in the mountains, and I don't know exactly how they got there, but there was a couple deer,
Okay.
and of course they can't come and go as they please, but this one deer, I think it was a gift, but the deer lived inside the fence line with us, and we named him Bert.
Deer named Bert.
Your name, Bert.
Bert, started out young and manageable. We would bring him food. You could wrestle with him a little bit, but he grew. Like when he got bigger, Bert was a handful.
Yeah.
And so everybody's got some good Bert stories to tell.
Yeah.
One of my favorite ones for me was I'd always bring an apple out, slice up an apple and bring it out to him. And I was feeding him the apple one day, and I got a call on the radio. So I just kind of walked off. I was going down to check on one of the points. And as I'm walking, I felt like almost like somebody came up behind you and kind of jumped on your back.
Yeah.
It was Bert.
Jumping on your back? The deer.
Bert's two front paws were on my shoulders, and he was licking my ear.
He was getting you ready. That's
And
called
I
foreplay
turned around, and me and Bert were running down the trace, and he was chasing me as fast as I could go. I was like, "No, Bert, no."
No, Bert, please.
He said, no, Bert, no. Oh, my God. So, yeah, that's deer style.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. That's pretty funny, man. So, I didn't know that, on Camp David, they kept deer. That was like a gift and as a pet.
Yeah, and he was, I guess, you say wild, but
Yeah.
he was inside. We felt bad for him because, he would see other deer on the other side of the fence lines and all. And during rutting season, you'd watch him just charge. He would see a doe on the other side. And couldn't get to her. He would charge that fence and run smack headlong into that fence.
Oh.
But, you kind of felt bad for him.
They were like, he was like, if they're going to screw me over, I'm going to screw them over.
Oh, my goodness, man. So 1985 you joined, and 1991. And so I didn't even know, so is that still, I see, like, was there anything that you had to do special to get selected like that to become, security at Camp David or whatever?
I'm not sure how that process works. They and other, you'll enjoy this story. So it's one day at the end of the day in the squad bay, and I'm shining shoes and brass, and I get the call, report to the senior drill instructor's hut.
Oh.
Yeah, so I'm like,
Sir.
I'm shining my shoes. What did I do? So I run up, slap 3 times.
Yeah.
Sir, recruit Baldasarre reporting to the senior drill instructor, sir.
Yeah.
So he calls me in. He goes, make sure you go out there, iron out a pair of utilities. You got to report to NIS in the morning, which back then was the Naval Investigative Service. Now it's in CIS now, since National Intelligence Agency stole the thing. But I'm like,
what did I do?
Report to Naval Investigative Service in the morning. I'm just in boot camp, Why am I? And
How'd you already mess up?
That's all he told me. He didn't say anything else. Just go. So I go press out my stuff, and next morning they tell me where to go, and I go down there, and I walk in, and they ask me what I'm doing there, and they say, okay, just sit right over there. And I'm sitting. I'm like going crazy, I'm like,
everything's going through your head. Yeah, right. It's like, I know I didn't lie to them about the drug use before I joined. Okay.
So this guy finally calls me in, and then he explains to me, you've been selected for this position, and tells me the whole thing. I had to make the choice right then and there.
Yeah.
And it doesn't really change. It changes your contract a little bit because of what you're doing. And he goes, I need to know before you leave this office. I'm thinking, that's
can't even research it.
This sounds pretty cool.
And you couldn't just bring out your phone and just Google search real quick?
There's nothing back then.
I'll take your word for it. Yeah,
it sounds cool, I guess. Yeah.
So I'm like, sure. What the heck?
Yeah, what do you got to lose? Yeah. And you said you were fresh out of high school, right? So here
fresh
you are.
Out of high school,
so What,
actually, I went in when I was 17, so I was 17 years old.
So you're 17. So you got the permission to go at 17, yep. And so you were 17 years old, being pretty much asked if, hey, you're gonna do the security force job for high level stuff.
Yeah.
Gosh, dang! And you know what's really funny to think about? What kind of weapons were you carrying then?
So I'll tell you a cool story after that. But with the A2, just came into service in the Marine Corps.
Yeah.
Wow.
So in boot camp, we actually got to fire the old M16A1s. They weren't issued to us, but they still had them around. So we got to do some full auto firing on the ranges, but just issued the A2.
So you got issued the M16A2, and I assume you had, whenever you were at Camp David and stuff like that, what was your primary weapon?
So up there, we still had the 1911s.
Yep.
As a sidearm, and we, for the most part, we carried shotguns.
Yeah. So I'm just saying, I'm hearing the type of weaponry and you were how old at Camp David at that point?
Well, by the time I made it up, I was 18.
Yeah. So 17 years old when you went in, shooting the M16A1, which was full auto. The M16A2, was that 3-round burst at that point?
That 3-round burst, yeah.
Yep. And so I'm just thinking over here, 17, 18-year-olds doing that, and yet they're trying to say that, there's politicians that are trying to say that, hey, you have to be 21 to own a pistol. And, full autos are a big, dangerous, scary thing, which anybody that's actually shot one and learns how to use one.
Well, we won't even talk about being 18 going to infantry training school.
Oh, yeah.
With the M249 saw, and back then the Echo 3 M60.
That's right, man. The M60E3. Those things are freaking cool.
M240, they're launching 40 mic grenades downrange.
Yeah, all of it. Yeah.
That's
and
awesome.
or how about just the the frag grenades too, the M67, just throwing those too, just again, 17, 18 years old, whatever. I was a little bit older when I went in at 20. And actually, I had my 20th birthday while I was in boot camp in March. And I was an old guy, actually, comparatively. But anyway.
17-year-olds.
Yeah, right. And but I mean, how cool is that, though? So there you were, and sitting at this office thinking, oh, my God, what are they about to hem me up for, right?
And then it turned out, I'm like, this wasn't what I was expecting. I thought I was in trouble. But
yeah. So did you originally sign on to like a 4-year contract, and because of that selection you did 6? Or
No, I did 6 originally.
Okay.
So the only downside to doing that was I lost my signing bonus.
Oh, really?
That went out the window, but for what I got out of it, I think it's well worth it.
Yeah, dude. Well, it's
shooting M16s, M60s, M240s. He's like, I'm good. Like,
that's
I got
all right,
what I wanted.
Yeah, and even if I mean, that's all even like School of Infantry and everything too, which is just I mean, that was a fun time. I actually, for me, it's at SOI that they call it now the Marine Combat Training, and for me that was a lot of fun. But that also sucked a lot more at boot camp because you had like a little bit more responsibility, and you weren't just told what to do all the time, And it was like, and then they really knew how to like screw with you more. And I'll never forget what they used to do with all your gear, right? There's a school of infantry. So even it doesn't matter if you're, an admin guy or a cook, you're still going through the same course ultimately. And you're at the Marine Combat Training and you have all this gear, you have your weapon, you have all this stuff. And then in gravel, if you're doing something that's making the instructor unhappy, which is all the time, it's pretty much
existing.
Like, it's boot camp light, right? I don't even want to call it light, but it's just like the drill instructor light version. And, but dude, they used to just, I never take a knee, and oh my God, dude, they would leave you down there for like 30 minutes on one knee in gravel with all your gear. I still think my knees are screwed up from that. And that was just through training, not even like going and doing like big boy stuff. Oh my gosh. But anyway, okay. So, when you came in here too, something Ryan noticed, and you said it was cool if we talked about it, but your hearing aids.
Yes.
Yeah. Those things look fancy.
They're pretty fancy.
And I can't believe this, and you're going to have to explain this to people too, because what I think you're about to tell us is a good Veterans Affairs story, VA story.
Yeah. My experience to date with the VA has been phenomenal.
Okay. So walk us through it. First of all, walk us through why, like what's up, like what happened? Why do you have the hearing aids? And then also the VA, like I always hear VA horror stories.
Yeah.
So hearing something that's actually got like something cool and a happy customer, that's not something you typically hear. So yeah, what happened?
Well, my biggest thing is tinnitus and hearing loss.
Yeah, I feel you.
And I didn't know until went through the VA that going all the way back to my out processing hearing test, I had actually had hearing loss. So I was with Desert Storm and Desert Shield, and they think that the tinnitus comes from a near explosion from a grenade, and that's what caused probably the hearing loss and the tinnitus.
Right.
Not just any grenade, right?
Yeah, it was a rocket propelled grenade.
That one's moving a little bit quicker than one that we can throw.
It was a rocket propelled grenade.
So wait a minute. So you mean to be telling me that somebody shot an RPG at you?
Yes.
Dude, you're such a nice guy.
I know the way he's like, yeah, it happened.
What did you do to deserve that?
I'm sure it was an accident. They
didn't mean to.
But man, so an RPG, hits close by and everything.
Most of those shots were on the run during that engagement anyway. That wasn't a very long.
All right, we got to hear the story. Whatever happened with the RPG.
Actually, we were in the assault, and there on their highways. And have you been?
No.
At least in Kuwait, they fenced their highways in, probably for animals, so animals didn't get on the road. So just chain link fence the length of the highway. So we had to breach that, and that's when we were breaching it. I don't know where the round came from, but and we were lucky. We found a BMP was there that we had taken out as we moved forward. And when we weren't expecting the chain link fence to be at the road, so when we got there, we had no way to get through it. But thankfully, in the burnout BMP, there was some bolt cutters, so we were able to cut through the fence.
Convenient.
And just as we were doing that, I guess we were stuck there too long, so we were exposed, and nobody got hurt, thank God.
Well, I mean, some minor hearing loss.
Yeah. I was gonna say.
I'm sure that probably shook you guys up a little bit, though.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I haven't been shot at, much less with an RPG.
Yeah.
Or just a slightly faster moving grenade, right?
Yeah. It was a rocket propelled grenade.
It was a rocket propelled grenade. Yeah.
Well, and then the best part was we got through. We swung as to go into the assault, and after all that, they just started screaming for us to come back. Oh. There was an armored column coming that way, and we had no armor with us. We just had Amtrak, so we had to go right back the way we came.
Oh. So how close were you to it?
Well, we never saw the tank, so I don't know where the intel came from, but actually the Army's Tiger Brigade were attached to us. And back then, the Marine Corps was still using the old M60 tanks,
right.
And the Army had the M1. So they came through our position and went forward. We heard the engagement, but we never got to participate in that one.
Oh wow! So what about the grenade? How close to that when it struck?
I'm not really sure. I wasn't even paying attention. You just,
all of a sudden you're like, damn, that was loud.
It's the boom, and everybody digs their head down in the dirt, and then comes up looking. Okay, we're okay.
Yeah, right. Oh my God, that's wild, man. So interesting, dude. So you did that for 6 years, and then was it right after that you joined law enforcement?
Yeah. So I got out towards the end of '91, and I started with the city in '94. And I, by the grace of God, again, everything worked out good. I wanted to be a hired patrolman.
Yeah.
And I'd gone through everything, but because of budgeting, they didn't have classes. So I was waiting, and I'd put in for local agencies too. And the city called me and said, hey, we want to offer you a job. And I'm like, I want to be a trooper. And
yeah.
But I'm glad I did what I did, and I love those guys. The troopers are great, but especially at that time, South Carolina, they're just hired patrolmen. They don't do anything but traffic. And I learned pretty quick in regular law enforcement, there's so many more opportunities, so much more you can do. Mm-hmm. So it was a bigger world to play in, and I'm happy it worked out that way. We had a tactical unit at the time, so I got to run the gamut through the tactical unit, from entry teams to sniper to actually at the end I ran the team.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
That's impressive.
So you were an assaulter on that front. You were so you were on the tactical team, and you said you were a sniper also?
Right. We called them marksman observers.
Yeah.
The more correct term.
Yeah. So what was your kit? What kind of rifle were you running with that?
Believe it or not, we ran Rugers.
Rugers, really?
Which would have been my choice, but they actually shot really well. And did you ever hear of Norm Chandler, Lieutenant Colonel Chandler?
I don't think so.
He ran. Now I'm going back in time, but he ran the sniper program for 2nd Marine Division.
Okay.
And when he retired, he started his own business where he took Remington 700s, re-outfit them, and then sold them. He made them basically sniper rifles.
Yeah.
And he was right out in North Carolina, right by Camp Lejeune. And he kept his ties, and he ran a sniper school. So that's where I went to sniper school at.
Oh, that's cool.
And he knew that we carried the Rugers.
Yeah.
So I walked in my first day, sat down, and I'd met him before. And he came up, he goes, "You guys still using that Ruger?" And I said, "Yes, sir." He goes, "You're not going to pass my class." That's what he said.
I didn't expect you to say that.
Yeah, right. Like I was expecting him to be like, "That's a fine gun."
Yeah,
I'm like, great. And then, and the other cool thing they did was they gave everybody 1 round in a Ziploc bag.
Okay.
And you had to put it in your breast pocket, your utility pocket. And he got up and said, "Okay, you were given a round. Everybody take that round out." And we took it out. He goes, "That's your test.
1 shot, 1 opportunity." Mom spaghetti.
No, I knew that was coming.
There'll be
Don't miss your chance to bluff.
No study and no nothing. They said throughout this training, whenever one of my instructors asks you for your test, you better be able to produce it. If not, and it was kind of like the old Marine Corps days.
Yeah, right. Put a sock in your left cargo pocket. Yeah.
At the end of the training, that was your test. You got 1 shot, and you had to hit the tee box. And
so you had to make sure you kept up with the round the whole time, and then on top of that, you had to make sure that you hit with that 1 round.
So what yardage was your test?
So for us, 100 yards. We shot at greater distances, but in law enforcement, that's your
sweet spot.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah,
That's kind of your
You're usually not
range.
shooting more than. The neat thing about his class was a lot of the LE sniper programs are more range time and shooting, in which we did a ton of, but he also made you go out and do a creep.
Oh, really?
That's interesting.
Even though you're law enforcement.
Yeah, which a lot of the guys were like, "Do what?"
Yeah, wait a minute. It's like, I'm not sneaking up on you, dude.
Why do I need to be a bush? I don't understand.
Dude, that's pretty funny. So, yeah, that's all really interesting. So, I mean, right now, I'm not sure when this podcast is coming up, but we're in the middle of our bolt gun series.
Yeah.
And so we're doing a little bit of distance there, which is a lot of fun. But yeah, that's pretty funny. Did a creep test. So, honestly, how'd you do on that?
So we partnered just like the Marine Corps do. So you had your observer with you, and we did
Right.
well. There was two guys that came through the class that they weren't Marine snipers, but they were MPs, Marine Corps MPs, snipers on the Camp Lejeune SRT team.
Oh, that's cool.
Cool.
So they went through the class too. So, of course, kind of like us, once you find out who the Marines are, then you kind of got together. So that's who I hung out with. And they had one instructor was a civilian instructor, and he came from the Jacksonville Police Department.
Yeah.
And he gave us grief the whole time. I think he just picked on us because we were Marines. And,
Right.
And he had never been in the military whatsoever. He was a big Detroit Lions fan. And he always wore his Detroit
So this
Lions
guy made
hat.
bad decisions, is what you're telling me.
Yeah, yes. So the whole time, he just kept giving us grief. And one of the things was you ran an obstacle course, kind of like we would do. So your rifle would be set down, and then you would run the obstacle course. You would run down 100 yards and put your target in the target stand that had 5 balloons on it.
Oh, wow.
You would run back, and he would hand you your bolt. You would load up, and you had to fire 2 rounds from the 100-yard line prone, 2 rounds from the 75-yard line kneeling, and 1 round from the 50-yard line offhand.
Okay. That's actually within 100 yards. We could remake this.
We could.
That is a really cool.
It's a really neat course to do.
Yeah, that is a really neat course, because what I think a lot of people might not be understanding is your heart rate goes up, your breathing, all of that. I mean, you're putting on physical stress, right? Now, sure, there's not the stress of actually somebody shooting back at you, but when you try to mimic that type of stress, and then all of a sudden having to like hold your sights, try to get a nice trigger squeeze off, control your breathing, slow down your heart rate, do all that type of fun stuff. That sounds actually like quite a bit of a challenge.
Yeah.
5 balloons, 5 shots, don't miss, you die.
Yeah. That's why I like going to the range with friends,
Right.
because it adds this competition to it. So your heart rate gets up. You're being timed on a shot timer. Your friend has a really good time. He started first. You're second up, and you're like, well,
I gotta
can
beat
I
it.
do it. Yeah, that'll get your heart rate up. So it definitely can like replicate that in certain ways. Yeah, that's a good one.
That is a good one, actually. All right, so did you get all 5 shots?
Yeah, I did great.
He's like, I killed it. I'm saying. I was that first guy who did really well.
So the same guy, he would run with us and just screw with us, yell at us, everything. Well, the main primary marksman for the Marine team gets up, so he lays down, fires his 2 shots prone, doesn't hit a balloon. Gets up, goes to the 75-yard line, fires his 2 shots, still no balloons. Gets to the 50-yard line, fires his last shot, no balloons.
Somebody screwed with him, didn't he?
Yeah.
No, so the instructor comes back first. He's like, I don't know how. I mean, I know I was messing with him and all, but I don't understand how he could have missed all those. He said, and the weirdest thing, every time he'd fire a shot, I tell him he missed. He'd look up at me and say, "You're dead." Every time, "You're dead." So he had gone down and got his target, and when he came back, he handed the instructor that Detroit Lions hat. All 5 rounds were inside
That's
the
awesome.
D on
Yes.
that instructor's hat.
That's
All
amazing.
5 rounds. And when he
Dude.
handed it to him, he said, "You're dead."
You're dead.
Nice.
Oh
That's
man, that is hilarious.
That's a
All
good
of that, way to lose, but did you?
Did you really?
Did you really?
You made your own challenge. It's far harder.
Yeah, exactly. All 5 rounds within the hat. That is so funny to me. I mean, that guy took it to the next level.
Yes. Who put these bulletproof balloons down here? Yeah.
I'm over here thinking like somebody took his elevation. It's went.
Yes.
You know what I
Yep.
mean?
Yeah,
Oh,
and
my
all of
gosh.
us were staring like, how is this guy missing? He was
Right.
like the best shot out there. Like, how is this guy? I mean,
He
this
wasn't.
is like nothing for him.
Right.
But when he handed that instructor his hat back,
It all made sense.
He's playing chess. Y'all are playing checkers.
Oh man, that's great, dude. So I find that to all be really cool. Now we've brought up 2 things though that I think are kind of funny to talk about. First of all, the 1911, going back to that, because just recently, within the last month, the United States Marine Corps has finally retired the 1911. Finally. So I say it kind of like that because I know a lot of people are kind of like, oh man, that's,
Yeah.
if there's one thing that Marines like you and I like to do, and that's always just kind of like, just we make everything a competition. We're very competitive. And secondly, if we can just shove it in somebody's face, well, we still got this and we do just fine.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of like, oh, you fancy Army boys with all of your, how many 21 rounds of 9mm do you have in your SIG little 320? That's cute. And your little polymer frame gun. We got 8 rounds in our M45 CQB.
2 World Wars, bro.
2 World Wars. You know, and so it's like, oh, it's kind of sad. So that was the United States Marine Corps, the MARSOC, Special Operations Command, that, you know, well, they finally said so long to the M45, you know, and so.
We may never see a third.
So RIP to the 19. Now, my biggest hope, us being Classic Firearms, and usually does a pretty good job at finding imports and surplus, I am hoping.
That would be, yes.
I am
Let me know.
hoping. Yeah, oh, dude, believe me, I want me to know. And so, yeah, I'm really hoping. And if you guys are listening, watching, whatever the hell it is you're choosing to do, comment down below. If we're able to source a bunch of these retired M45s, would you be hopping on to purchase one? My only fear is that they're going to be like $2,000 or $3,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I could see that.
So I've got a Colt railgun, which is ultimately the exact same thing, but it doesn't have the military requirements on it, right? So it has a different like strength, recoil spring, stuff like that.
Okay.
And I love the Colt railgun. It's a fun 1911. But the M45, that was actually my first video for Classic Firearms was on the M45 CQB. And don't go back and watch it because it's embarrassing. Not as embarrassing. I mean, it's more embarrassing than what I typically embarrass myself in more, you know, modern videos. But that was the first video I ever did. That predates you even.
I was going to say, I think I came on board the month after in 2018.
Really? Yeah. And so that's pretty funny. That's what happened, guys. When Ryan got on board, I had a sense of direction. But yeah, so
different times. Something you brought up with the SIG. This was a crazy time. So at one point when they were fielding the M17, we actually got some P320s in that had the trial numbers on them.
They were actual M17s that went through the Army trials. And they, when he says trial numbers, we're talking about like
the blue turquoise pin.
Yeah, like the soldier picked it up and said, this gun's number 7. All right, cool. Well, how'd number 7 do? It shot all rounds. Great. All rounds are on target. Awesome. How many malfunctions? None. All right, cool. We're selling it.
And we had 10 of them, I believe.
Yeah.
And it was, I wish I would have gotten one.
I wish I would have too, dude. Dude, there's so many things that have come through this warehouse that I'm like, well, if we got it this time, we'll get some more later. And I have kicked myself. Those, you know what I'm about to talk about next, that IWI Galil.
I know.
The IWI Galil Blims. These were the first aces, you know. These things are beautiful rifles. And at that time, you know, we also had a bunch of pistols also, the 308 models and everything. And these things were awesome, dude.
The deal of the decade.
Deal of the decade. I think ultimately what was happening was IWI wanted to make room for the Gen 2s that they were getting ready to produce, which are currently out now. I mean, that's the gen that they're on, and they have been for the past couple of years. Yeah. Well, heavily discounted blemished models. I opened up so many of those, found zero.
There's
anything.
no blims.
There's no blemish. The only blim thing about them was the fact that they were the earlier generation.
Yeah. It was amazing.
Yep.
It was
heavily
I kick
discounted.
myself all the time about
Yep.
it. Yeah, I remember with the M17, it was actually one guy bought all 10 that we had.
Oh.
And he was like, "Oh, I know what I got." He was like,
yeah, so we should have learned like really quick, like, hey, limit 1 per customer.
Yeah.
You know, we should have learned that really quick because that dude immediately bought those and threw them right back up at a heavier price.
Yeah. Learn and adapt.
Yeah, I know, man. Gosh, running a business sometimes. I don't do that, but it sounds hard.
Very hard, yeah.
So the other thing I wanted to bring up too is the Marine Corps also got rid of the Scout Sniper program. Did you hear about that?
No.
Yeah, man. So those legendary Scout Snipers, like oh my God, I can't remember his name. Obviously, there's Hathcock, Carlos Hathcock, Whitefeather. Yeah. But there's another guy, Oh no!
Yes,
I think you know who I'm talking about.
I do, and if you wouldn't have said it, I probably would have said it, but I can't think.
Yeah.
It is. It's, and I want to say McEnany, but that's not it either.
Something like that. But this dude also legendary. He also did some really incredible shots too, like Carlos did. And man, I think about some of these guys, and I also think about how many Marine Corps Scout snipers I've been told there are, which is almost every Marine that I meet. Oh, I was a scout sniper.
Yeah.
I was a scout sniper. I was like, well, there must be more snipers than there are infantrymen because I don't think I've met as many 0311s.
I've heard that story many times.
Dude, it's like, what? Are you sure? It's like, yeah. I was a scout sniper because I shot the best out of all the cooks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like that. That's not how that works.
It was a little pin they gave me. Yeah.
Yeah, right. So, but it sounds like too that the Marine Corps is ultimately changing up how they're making their platoons and everything. So, so it sounds like they're going to have DMRs or squad snipers or something like that, but that are more integrated into the platoon instead of them being their own thing, from what I understand.
Yeah, because I know they've done that. I guess they're calling it the M38. Is that the
M30,
38 did the
39,
testing?
38, something like that.
For
It might be 39. It might be 39.
It's the MR556, but the DMR version.
Yeah.
right, so ultimately the M27 set up for longer distance.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and so that's a cool configuration, which
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll show on CF contest at some point.
We're going to do that at one point. I mean, you guys loved the M27.
So we actually did an M27 clone that was to the T.
He helped me with it.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, he came in the day I was putting all the furniture on and everything. John was with me, and Mike walked in and he goes, "What you got there? What you doing there?" I was like, "Oh, we're making M27." He goes, "Oh, I know."
yeah. So do you have any experience with the M27 or
No.
Yeah.
So-
Oh man.
Well, I was going to tell you the other funny story going back in time.
Yeah.
When I got to the Marine Barracks, the rifle issued to me there
M14.
was stamped AR
Armor.
16.
Oh, really? I was going to say, like, how far back are we going? Like, because I know ceremonial, they'll still use the M14.
Now,
Yeah.
all the ceremonial weapons were still the M14s.
Right.
Now, those guys, that was a job.
Oh, I bet.
They woke up in the morning, PT'd,
Yeah.
ate breakfast, drilled till lunch, drilled some more, and then just did work on uniforms or worked out again. That was
Yeah.
their life.
Man, so doesn't sound great to me.
No, yeah.
But what an honor though to be, to have that position too. I mean, there's what is it? So the Marine Corps, I don't know if this is what you were told too, that there's like 3 like highlighted positions in the Marine Corps. That it's like a recruiter where you start the moldings of a new Marine, right? The drill instructor, and then it was one of the embassy guards. That was like another like glowing thing. Like when you think Marine Corps, you think about the recruiter that's telling you all these wonderful lies, and then you think about the drill instructor who's forming the Marine, and then you think about the embassy guards who are doing some pretty legitimate work,
Yeah.
And it's not just always that decorated dressed blue Marine standing in front of a nice building too. You got to think the entire platoon of guys armed to the teeth, ready to go at a moment's notice in case Benghazi 13 hours off, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because most of those guys, I
Ready.
mean, once in Blue Moon, you stood in blues, you were mostly hidden somewhere. And
Yeah. It's all about the public eye. What do they see? And that's the way the Marine Corps has really been for a long time, all about this image, right? This entire professional image. Because, we're not allowed to wear our utilities, our camis, as we call them, our camouflage uniforms out in public.
Yeah.
So if you ever see a Marine out there in public wearing his digital camouflage, he ain't right. It ain't like the Army, National Guard, or whoever else that, that they can wear their fatigues out and stuff like that. But pretty interesting. So getting back to Sylvan a little bit, you guys do more than just folding adapters, though.
Right, yeah, that's our mainstay, and that's the good and the bad is that's how we're known. But we do
Yeah.
we have a whole line of other things out there.
Yeah, and we featured like the Magwell adapters,
Yes,
right?
the Magwell adapters and the conversion block's a good one.
Exactly,
the 9mm
yeah.
conversion block.
Yeah, which I think is pretty cool. In fact, I think John's throwing on the table
yeah.
for us there. So which one is that?
This is this is for the Glock magazines. So it just goes right into your standard low receiver
Yeah.
in the AR, and then you can just switch up your upper receiver to a 9mm, and you can start rocking and rolling with
Yeah.
Glock mags.
So what I love about that is, of course, having an SBR lower, and then you can just make it a 9mm just like that, and they work really well. So whenever someone kind of puts something out where it's converting the magazine like that, I'm always a little bit hesitant,
Right.
Because you never know how it's actually going to work. That one works well, and I like the grip with it's almost like a trigger mag
right.
release.
Yeah.
That's smart. Yeah,
Yeah. No, it's definitely a cool design, and I think we've actually featured it on the channel before too.
we definitely have. We did a video on it,
Didn't
pretty
we-
much on this exact
Yeah, didn't we do it with like
conversation.
with an echo trigger too? I think we did.
I think it was.
Yeah, something like that. So yeah, we had fun with that. So, but more recently too, you guys got into the silencer game, right?
We did, yes. So we have four different models out now. 2 in direct thread, which is a 22 and a 9mm, and then 2 in quick detach, which is a 223, 5.56, and a 30 cal.
Yeah, so that sounds fun. So we've already talked. Mike and I have talked quite a bit. Unofficially. Well, we may have mentioned it a time or two in like at SHOT Show or something.
I think, yeah.
Yeah, but getting a couple of those silencers, doing some. I mean, if you want to see us try to destroy something, we can do it. And but yeah, so I mean, tell us a little bit more about like the materials. Are these like how are these ones made?
Right now, our current line is all titanium.
Yeah.
Well, I shouldn't say titanium tubes.
Yeah.
The end pieces are stainless steel. The blast chamber is stainless steel, and the first baffle stainless steel, then titanium.
Right. So pretty
So-
much the parts that are going to be taking the most abuse. Those are the
Stainless steel. So we
yeah.
tried to do weight versus heavy lifting and
Right.
make it
The
the best.
rigidity of it.
Yeah.
That makes
Yeah.
a lot of sense. Yeah, that's a good combination.
Right. And I really want to test out. We need to get a 22 bolt gun. Like a 20-inch 22 bolt gun, something ridiculous, and thread on one of these silencers to it. Because if you know, we've mentioned it before about like some of like the top suppressed guns. One of that video, whenever that was, how fun a suppressed 22 actually is. And so we would love to try that with one of Sylvan's cans, of course. And then, of course, compare it to other ones. I mean, we're all about like, hey, let's try it against this, try it against that, and then compare price point, compare what these features are and stuff like that. And then, of course, hey, at the end of the day, let's torture test the son of a bitch.
Yeah, that's always the answer. Torture test after done.
Yeah, try to break it. So I think that would be, that'd be pretty fun.
Yeah, 300 blackout bolt gun with a 30 cal can.
Oh yeah,
sounds
that's
fun.
sitting up on the video room
Yeah.
wall right now.
It's
Now I've got
it's
a,
obnoxiously fun if everyone's tried it. Yeah.
I've got a 223 bolt gun we can use too.
Yeah. So that would be all
That
of that's
that
awesome.
sounds pretty sweet. With
Yeah. So bring that next time, and I'll bring my Henry Long Ranger. That's a 223 lever gun, and then compare the sounds that we can get out of it. It's threaded also, so we can throw a half 28. So we can throw the silencers on that, compare the two, and see like if there honestly is an audible difference to the shooter. With bolt versus lever gun. I think that'd be kind of cool.
I love the rise of tactical lever actions, and obviously some people hate it. They want it the way it's looked like for 100 years, right?
Right.
I get it, and there's a place for that too. However, putting a suppressor on the end with like an M-lock rail and a skeletonized stock, I get it. It's a little bit different, but I mean,
Dude,
it's
so
fun.
cool.
It's so cool, interesting. Thank God they put it in John Wick, the
Yes.
newest
Yes.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that looked amazing, and it was a takedown too.
Right.
So they kept adding to it. They're let's push it further and further. How crazy can we make this bolt action?
Right, man.
Or the
Lever
lever
gun.
action.
Yeah. I think all of that's just beyond cool. So I think that'd be a cool, fun video.
That would be.
Yeah,
Definitely.
so we'll have to hear from everybody viewing, listening, comment on the YouTube channel, whether or not that sounds like a good video to you. I mean, we need the content. We put out so many damn videos, so.
No, I was going to say, it seems like more people want to see bolt action and lever action stuff, Maybe together and some separate.
Right. So what else does Sylvan have coming down the line that you can talk about,
Well,
man?
since you're talking about bolt rifles, we do a competition weight now. So you've seen our QD rail attachments.
Yeah.
Same attachment system, but in a 7-ounce weight. You get a pair, so
Yeah.
14 ounces, one on however you want to configure them, and you can run them down a line because a lot of the competition rifles now have the chassis with the M-lock on them.
Right.
So if you need to or want to add weight for stability, you can run these weights down, and we do them in black, flat dark earth, OD green, and sniper gray.
And you said they're QD?
QD.
Weights?
So there's no screws involved. You take them on and off. If you can use them, you can use them. If the competition says no, you just squeeze
Pop 'em
two
off.
buttons and take them off.
That was one of the smartest things that I've seen you guys make was that QD slot. Because if you want to add something like, I get it if you're going, like laser or something like that, you're going to want that on a solid platform on your Picatinny. You know, run that rigid. However, if you want a grip on the bottom and you want to switch it between different rifles, attach it to this QD section for the Picatinny, and then attach it to your M-lock.
Right.
And then just whenever you're done, pop it out, throw it on your
Exactly.
next
Same
rifle.
thing with the sling adapter.
Sling adapter. Harris bipod on that short one fits perfect. You can
Oh,
you
I
only have
didn't
to buy
even
one
think
bipod
about
now.
that.
That's smart.
Flashlight on the short one fits perfect. I run the Surefire flashlight on there. Now I only have one, and I can put it on all my rifles or take it on and off depending on what I'm doing. And
Yeah.
Yeah, because sometimes you want to shoot your 16 like it's, you know, an SPR, quote unquote.
Right.
Yeah, take it out the 500 yards. And other times you're at a flat range within 50 yards, and you're like, I don't need this bipod.
Yeah.
You know, there's no point for that.
Yeah, dude,
Smart.
that is pretty cool. And depending on how you have your like flashlight wired or something like too, if you're going to be running a bunch of daylight stuff and you don't want the added weight of that, pop that off of there. And if you're just running kind of like how I do on some of my rifles, I get the short enough cable that I don't have to worry about trying to like cable management, wrap that thing up or anything.
Yeah.
Get a short enough cable that kind of stows into the rail by itself. Now you can just pop off your entire light system, save that weight and rail space.
That's smart. Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
good idea.
so if you guys haven't seen this it's pretty cool. All it is two like push buttons. You just squeeze together on either side, and that takes these M-lock tabs and pushes them together. Now it gives you the space you need to pull it off the rail. And then when you want to attach it, same thing, but in the reverse. And it works. Yeah, dude. And it's stable.
Yeah.
That's the other thing. You know, like I get what Ryan was saying too. Like, hey, if you got IR, lasers, something that needs to actually hold zero, I'm going to want that to be the rail, most stable platform. But something like a light, like a grip that you're talking about, stuff like that, bipod, that is really cool.
I actually saw it featured on one of Brandon Herrera's videos.
Oh, really?
Recently.
yeah, he just had it on. He did the SIG rifle.
Yep, that's what it was.
Yeah.
It was a SIG rifle. Yeah,
Yeah.
because going back, this is kind of a separate talking point, but we were experiencing some same issues with Brandon Herrera with the spear.
Yeah.
So I had to watch his video because I'm like, okay,
Right.
well, let's see it. Yeah, but yeah, that's where it was featured.
Yeah, what the issue that Ryan's talking about is that magazine over penetration, over insertion. Did you see that, Mike?
Yes.
dude.
Yeah.
It's
couldn't
a
believe
lot.
it,
Just on the Magpul mag. That's it. Not on the Lancer. Lancer was fine.
Yeah, the
okay,
Lancer
okay.
for us, it still felt like the mag or the bolt release was still really stiff, though. You know what I
But
mean?
it would go home at least.
It would go home.
The Magpul mag, he
Nope.
said no. It was a Stonewall Jackson right there. He was like, no, it's not happening.
Nah, So that was pretty weird. I did talk to SIG about that, and they're looking into it and things like that. But it's only on that one spear that we had, and then it just happened to be Brandon Herrera's too. I don't know of anybody else that's gotten one that's had that issue, but I just thought it was kind of funny.
We should be getting it back soon, and going to be doing something with that at CF Contest. So stay tuned.
Unless I keep it because it's working now.
Like he doesn't have his own that he's shooting.
You never know. I want to dual wield them, all right?
Exactly. That's it.
Well, what I also want to be doing. So, did you send it off to SIG to get the muzzle device removed too?
I don't think we did for the first
Oh
one.
my
Yeah.
god!
Yeah, I don't think so.
Because
Actually, you were talking to them.
yeah, it was.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm like, wait.
but you sent it out, right?
Yeah, I did physically
Okay, all
send
right,
it
cool.
out.
So yeah, it's both our faults then. All right, anyway, but okay, cool. So so that's another gun that we could test out the silencer on.
Yeah,
Because you got a 30 cal can that's direct thread, right?
It's QD, but we can make it a direct thread.
Okay, well, no, I mean, yeah, if it's QD, that's cool also, because all we got to do is just figure out how to remove that damn muzzle device off these SIG guns that are just like welded on due to the rock set that they slather on there.
I mean, it's just, I'm just imagining a guy with a paintbrush,
Yeah.
and he sees this little muzzle device and just
slaps
whips
it.
it on there. It is.
So should we tell them a
stuck.
funny story about that Mark 12?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, so
go
you
down
know the
that
Daniel
rabbit
Defense
hole.
Mark 12,
Yes.
right? Okay, I love that rifle, all right? And we needed to remove the muzzle device off of it because we were throwing on some other muzzle device for a video.
I think it was the like an A2 it came with,
Yeah.
right? And then we wanted to put on a Surefire.
Yeah, well, so we wanted to remove the muzzle device that I put on there.
That's right. So it was
Yeah.
a Surefire, and we wanted to
Put on something else.
kind of reverse it.
Yeah, and I couldn't remember what it was that we wanted to put on there. I was like, all right, dude, it's no big deal. I put Loctite on there. I'll heat it up. It'll be fine. All right, cool. Let's do it. Well, do you remember Alec, who used to be with
Yes.
us?
Yeah.
All right, cool. So Alec was still with us at that time. And for those of you that are wondering where Alec is, he's actually started his own business and is doing very well. And we miss him. And hopefully he'll come back onto the channel to say hi one day. Anyway, so
We talk all the time.
We actually do. Like we said, the meme game is strong,
Yes.
right? But anyway, so we were all on the Vice, okay? And this is why you should use the right tools and also remember when you use Rockset, okay? I forgot that we used Rockset that I used Roxette.
There's a difference.
Yeah.
For everyone at home, there's
There's
a
a
big
difference.
difference. Even red Loctite, there's a difference.
Yes, and it doesn't fail under heat. Like it takes like shock and like people have said boil it underwater. Some people say 4 minutes, some people say 40, and I'm like I ain't got the time for that.
Yeah.
So anyway, okay. There's 3 grown men, Ryan, myself, and Alec, on top of this damn gun. And we're like, dude, why won't this muzzle device come off? I know it, like, come on, let's get it, whatever. Alec has the muzzle device, and you and I are like literally like putting all of our
Like
weight.
wrapping it, like as if someone's trying to get out of a chokehold.
And it's on a vice.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Next thing you know, it finally breaks free. We couldn't believe it, but I was like, that felt weird. And I look at it, and the gas block is rotated 45 degrees too. Oh, yeah, we
Yeah.
actually separated the barrel from the barrel nut. So
Yeah.
whoever won that one, sorry. No, I'm just kidding.
The best part was when we showed Frank from Daniel Defense.
So if you guys watched our Daniel Defense factory tour, manufacturer tour, Frank, who's a great friend, awesome guy, I sent him a text message, and all I did was send him the pictures. And he calls me and goes, "What did you do?" And I'm like, "I don't know, man. Alec and Ryan told me it was a good idea, all right?"
Like it's some strong Loctite.
I was like, dude, I don't know what you did to these guns, but I was like, look, Frank, I respect Daniel and everything, but y'all are sending me barrels that look like this. I don't know what to do.
Yeah, exactly.
he's like, I can tell you right now that did not come out of our QC, and I'm like, I've been to the manufacturer. Yeah, it did. And
That gas tube did not snap. That's what
the
I'll
gas
give him.
tube, yeah, the gas tube actually rotated and is twisted.
So
Yeah.
it's on
Man.
the gas block is on the right side of the rifle. The gas tube is twisted all the way up and around.
Yeah.
It goes.
Yep,
It
it
was
was
wild.
impressive, right? So I think we still have pictures of it. If we do, well,
I'll pop them up.
we'll have to pop them up. But at the same time, so I was like, hey, Frank, we're planning on doing a lot of marketing. We're collaborating with Alex Zedra on this gun and everything. It's like, how much is this going to cost us to fix? And he was just like,
One cart of shame.
one cart of shame. In other words, if you were to go tour Daniel Defense, they have this thing called the cart of shame. These are the guys that have loaded a 300 Blackout in a 5.56 gun. And honestly, they had that there.
Yeah.
And it didn't blow up. It just, obviously didn't feed
was-
or it didn't fire, I
Yeah.
should say. Well, no, okay. It
got
did both
stuck.
of those things, but it got stuck. The barrel didn't blow up. The gun didn't blow up. So that was pretty interesting. But anyway, so if you go tour Daniel Defense and you ask them about the card of shame, they might have something with my smiling face.
We haven't been, so I'm not sure.
I'm not
it's
sure.
there.
I'm not sure if it's there or not either. But they will have a barrel where the barrel has become separated from the barrel nut with the gas tube sitting there twisted, looking. It's a good time.
It's impressive. That's 3 people just putting their, well, I shouldn't say heads into it, putting their body into it. There was no brain involved.
Yeah, so Alec being a Marine also, this is the epitome of Marines break shit. It doesn't matter
Yes.
how strong you make it. We're gonna find out how to break it, and that is very true. That is very true. In fact, we just shot the video, the VCOG versus the SIG Tango, which that video should be coming out if it's not already up by
probably
now.
is,
Yeah,
yeah.
so if that, so go watch that video if you really want to hear my thoughts on it without actually showing too much bias. I think I did a pretty good job, but there's a reason why the Marine Corps wants to make shit durable. That's because of Marines.
That's right.
So, I mean, how much shit did you break when you were in?
Oh, I can't even remember. I had.
Where do I start?
So.
There's a reason they made the A4.
The Humvees were just coming out when I was in the fleet, so they were sending guys through driver's training. So we sent one of our guys, and he came back same day.
Same day.
Same day. In the briefing, the instructors told him that these things were indestructible.
Oh, no.
That the latest, greatest, best vehicle there is, you cannot destroy this.
Why would anybody, especially another Marine, say something like that to Marines?
If I've never heard a challenge before.
So my guy,
that's one.
my guy came back, failed. And I said, what happened? He said, well, they told me you couldn't destroy it.
Insert Whistling Diesel's face here.
Exactly. It's not a Hilux. Like, come on.
Right. So, I mean, what did he do?
Oh, he totaled it. He went wide open. He just figured, hey, I can't break it. I'm good to go.
Oh shit! So what did he run it into a tree or something?
Yeah.
Oh my god!
I think he rolled it over on its side. And
Well, I mean, he was fine though, right?
yeah, he
It did its
yeah,
job.
he
Hey,
did
I
go.
mean, yeah. For
the only-
the driver, it's fine.
The only thing indestructible are Marines. How about that?
Yeah, look at that.
Oh, that's too good, man. So, well, that's great. So, all right, we talked a little bit more about the silencers and things like that, and you mentioned, that there are some pretty cool things coming down the road from Sylvan. Are you able to hint at that or unveil anything?
I don't know if I can unveil anything. I can throw you some hints out there, though.
Okay, all right. Okay.
We talked about one of them. You might see a new variation of the conversion block down the road.
All right.
Trying to expand on how you're gonna feed it.
Okay, gotcha. That was what I was going to ask. I was going to say, is this a newer generation, or are we talking a whole different block for different conversion?
There you go. Well, it'll be 9mm, but different magazine types.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, well, that's pretty cool. So, something again that we'll probably feature on the channel. Trying to do that type of stuff. But you guys have done a lot more than. Even more than suppressors, folding adapters, conversion kits, or conversion adapters, I should say, and also the QD pick rails. I mean, you guys have done some other things as well, right?
We've got some Glock slides out now. That's new
yeah.
this year. So we did 2 models and 2 generations. So 4 different things out. The Model 19 and the Model 17, both in the Gen 3 and the Gen 4. And we're starting to do some kits, I guess, for lack of a better term. We can do just the slide blank. You can do the slide with all the internal parts. Then you can do the slide with the internal parts and sights, iron sights.
Yeah.
And we're looking to get into some barrels. So then you might be able to get basically a complete upper half.
Nice. That's cool. Okay. So everything but the frame.
Right.
So, and you guys have always done really good at making quality products at an affordable price as well. So if you wanted to have that custom look, of your Glock 19 or whatever else it might be, Gen 4, you can do that without having to send out your slide and getting it all milled and all that type of stuff and everything. You can just have it. So you guys do optics cuts and everything,
right? Yeah. It'll come optics cut with a cover plate and an adapter plate. So
that's cool. Yeah. Yeah, because I sent mine out, and I sent it to DP Custom Works, actually here in Monroe, years ago. I think he's still around.
That was a Gen 4, right?
It was.
Yeah, I remember that.
My 19 Gen 4. I sent that out years ago, and loved the work and everything that was done on it. But it didn't come with like a cover plate and stuff like that, which again, not that big of a deal. I've had an optic on it the entire time, so it's not like I ever use it. But for those of us that are out there that want it to be a little bit clean and tidy and stuff, until I find the optic or whatever it might be, because you might be also just building this at your budget or whatever else it could be, So that's pretty cool, though, that you guys are thinking about all that. And so you guys going to be making threaded, non-threaded barrels?
Both. So we're looking to give as many options as we can give to the customer. So
that's pretty cool. Now, I mean, it might be too soon to ask or to tell or anything like that, but Gen 5 Glocks have the ambidextrous slide release and everything, so it's something that you guys might be taking a look at later?
Probably later. We're sticking with the 3 and 4 more because...
Well, there's so many of them
out there, and because of the 80% lowers.
Yeah.
So you're covering both of those markets.
Yeah, which is pretty cool. And until people actually start doing kind of like what I was talking about before, where they're wanting to replace parts or upgrade parts on something brand new that they just got, Glock's going to tell you it's perfect. Right, so there's no reason to replace anything.
5 generations of perfect. Yeah, that's what that is right there. So you talked about a threaded barrel, and you guys make rifle suppressors. Are we looking at pistol suppressors?
Well, so the 22 you can use on a rifle or a pistol. It's direct thread. Our 9mm suppressor.
They do have one.
They do have one. I didn't know you guys had one.
That ships with a blast chamber.
Yeah.
And a Nielsen device.
Oh,
nice.
So you can switch, and it comes with the tool to switch them out.
Yeah.
So you can put it on a rifle or a pistol.
Okay.
So you're covered on both sides with that.
That is really cool. I'm glad you guys thought about that too. Because we've done a suppressor comparison before, like between the Huxworks Cash 9 and then my Gemtech 45, and the Gemtech has the booster in it, and the Huxworks does not, and so you would actually see a reliability difference there.
Yeah. Well, I wonder if we say reliability or it's just like there's a missing piece.
Yeah, on a pistol you would see that difference. On a rifle, they're both going to work just fine.
Yeah, exactly. MP5.
Yeah.
MP5 on it?
Runs. Yeah, absolutely love that. So that's cool. Again, another one that we could compare too. I think that would be a lot of fun and getting those out there to test and everything. So that would be really cool. But yeah. So I mean, was there anything else? Because like I said, you guys make a lot of stuff.
Running right along with the Glock stuff is we do the compensator. the 9mm Glock compensator.
So that one's cool because that one just tightens down. You thread it on, then it tightens down.
Right, you thread on,
yeah.
you orientate it, and then there's two threaded screws that tighten it right down.
Now, do you have to have a certain grain weight to run through that reliably?
We haven't hit any weird numbers that threw it off. And we haven't had any complaints or call-ins, and that's one of our biggest things is we love for the customers' feedback because that's how we that's how we got to the folder we're at now. The Gen 4 folder is mostly customer feedback.
Right.
The folder worked great. We just added the sling points, changed the button to a full circle, just little things that we heard, hey, we'd love it if you did this. And
yeah,
it's interesting too because there's a point at which you've already made it function perfectly fine, right? And then it gets to a point where you're like, well, let's just make it more comfortable for them.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah, because that was whenever I was interviewing Sylvan in 2020 at SHOT Show there. I think that was the Gen 3 that they were talking about.
Yeah, it's probably just the beginning of the Gen 3.
Yeah, and they talked about how they actually lowered the hinge by so many of an inch. Mm-hmm. That way, it's a little bit easier, and you don't have to worry about your knuckle scraping or anything like that if you're charging the rifle or pistol or whatever the hell it is. Yeah, so little things like that just make sense, and it's cool too that and like I said, you're not breaking the budget with that accessory too, which is really cool. And then on top of that, you say, hey, it'd be nice if you could feature this, and it's like taking notes.
Yeah, the price point is super competitive for
Yes.
other people. I mean, for other people doing something similar, you guys are definitely on the more affordable side, which is amazing because from us torture testing it, it holds up. I mean, it may have an affordable price point, but that doesn't mean the materials and everything else are. Yeah, it's very impressive.
Yeah, so I'm a fan, and I think it works really, really well. So there's that. Do you guys have any active contracts for that or anything like that right now?
No, we've actually got some people looking.
Oh,
we're,
okay.
we're hoping to get something going, but
Gotcha. So you got some requests. So I mean,
they're out T&E-ing.
Okay, that's what I was going to say. Mm-hmm. So you might even get more feedback from that too, and say, okay, now it's time to make a different change, something like that. So that'll be pretty interesting to see that comes from that.
You might see down the road some, I guess, material changes.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So something even heavier duty.
Yes.
Well, I mean, this stuff's pretty already indestructible.
Ran it over, threw it at a steel plate.
Dude, I beat
broke
the
a
hell
lower.
out of it. Yeah, broke a lower on an AR. I mean, I beat the hell out of this thing, and it still swung and had its retention and everything too to keep it from,
We still have it over there.
We still have it. Yeah, we still have it as a nice little piece. Like, hey, what the hell happened there? And I was like, I broke it. Well, I broke the gun.
I tried. Yeah,
I tried to break it. Other than some of the finishing rubbing off.
Yeah, that was it.
It looks fine, which is why. But yeah, we actually ran it over and everything else. I think this time that when we run over the next one, we'll actually be on pavement, so the grass doesn't absorb it something as much, so we see if it really flexes. But again, it was a really interesting video. Just guys, let's go look up, classic firearms Sylvan torture test, and you'll find it. But yeah, so that all was pretty fun if you ask me.
Definitely. Yeah. We need to do more of those.
Yeah, we do. I think we got some slated. When I was just talking about the VCOG versus Tango 6 versus Night Force.
That's an expensive one.
That is an expensive
The
video.
Remington versus Mossberg, I think, would be an interesting torture test. Yeah.
And I think Ben might sign off on that because he'll
that
look at it like, well, that's not as expensive as how many dollars worth of optics?
$5,000.
$5,000 worth of optics. Yeah, so we've got a Remington 870 and a Mossberg 590S. That's the one that can actually take some of the short shells that are out there.
Yep.
And we want to torture test them and see which one does better.
Yeah.
So what would your money be on?
We carried the 590s, the 500 and the 590s when I was with the city
Oh, really?
before we went to rifles.
Yeah.
And right below Marines
Yeah.
are police officers.
When it comes to breaking shit.
Yeah, taking care of stuff. And those things went through some grief and held up.
Yeah. Actually, I want to get your opinion on something else too, because I think so. You were initially issued the 1911, right?
Yes. And then we got the Berettas.
That's what I was going to say. Then you got the M9. What was your experience with the M9?
They weren't user compatible. So
Yeah.
everything was different.
Right.
So it was a complete relearning process.
Right.
So that was the downside to it. And then of course, the 9mm round. You came from the 45 round, and you're like, we got to shoot what?
Yeah, right.
What is this?
Little tiny thing? Yeah. Yeah,
but it was reliable. It shot. Once you got used to it, it was like it's. But that was like when I got out of the Marine Corps and went to the city, and they handed me a Glock, and I'm like,
the hell is this? Where's the safety?
This thing's gonna blow up.
It's plastic.
Give me a plastic gun. But then once you start shooting that thing, you're like, hey, this is pretty neat. I like this.
Yeah, yeah. Especially it being a little bit lighter weight and you're carrying it all day. It's a little bit better than the metal frame guns that two world wars.
2 World Wars.
But the good thing was we had the Model 22s then. We had the 40 cal. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
So are you a 40 cal guy? 9mm, 45? Where do you find your most comfort at?
Right now, probably the 9mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because we transitioned to the Model 45 before I left.
Oh, really?
So so started shooting it and kind of saying, took me back to the Marine Corps. And I'm like, the 9mm round, it's not a bad round.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting. So you're talking about the Glock 45?
Yeah.
Really? So that's a newer. When did you?
That's Gen 5.
Yeah. When did
So
you,
that would have been like November, December of 20.
Oh wow! So how long have you been with Sylvan?
Since February of 21.
Man,
Okay.
I feel like it's been a long time.
Yeah,
like
that has been a while. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, wow, that is okay. Cool. So you retired just recently, then? Yeah. So congratulations.
And it went straight over. So
Yeah. Oh, that's really cool. Then okay, great. So yeah, all right. So I was like, wow, Glock 45, because I kept thinking like,
I didn't know departments got Glock 45s. I didn't know that was a thing.
I don't know that a lot of them do. We liked it because it was a smaller weapon, but you got the bigger, the larger
full-size
mag
grip.
capacity.
Yeah.
So it fit better for people. Even now, you don't get a whole lot of former military people coming into law enforcement.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a lot of new to firearms people and training them. And
Is that 45 your favorite?
and we actually saw scores go through the roof going from that 40 cal to that 9mm.
Oh yeah, I could see that. Yeah. What was your question?
Is that 45 your favorite of the Glocks that you've shot?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. It's
It's
same.
good.
It's a good feeling, a good fitting.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that, because it just, again, it's everything that you said before too. It's that perfect combination of barrel length, grip length, magazine capacity, everything else. Now, if they would only just factory include that Glock Performance trigger, which is only $100 upgrade, right? Like, have you tried one of those,
No, I haven't.
triggers? It is a clean, crisp trigger for a
Got one
striker.
over there.
Dude, yeah. Shit, I forgot.
It's literally a Glock 45.
yeah, it's perfect, dude. It is like the perfect trigger for a factory Glock as compared to any of the other Glock triggers. Dude, that thing is
It's
really
impressive because, the Timney fills in gaps for like competitive shooters where if you want something really light, and there's many others that do that, but Timney is the first one that comes to mind since we did a video on it recently. But that Glock Performance, it is a little bit heavier. That's just because a Timney is like 3 pounds we're talking, for competition. And it feels more rugged, I guess more like durable maybe because of that. And it's nice.
Yes, yeah. That's how I like my triggers. Crisper, but not hair triggers. I'm not, more of a.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you like the performance. It's an in between.
We used to use. They called it the New York trigger.
What's that?
In the Glocks, and it came because
Is that the 20 pounder?
It's the super heavy one, right?
Yeah,
yeah,
and
exactly.
it's the plastic spring instead of the coil spring. If you ever saw them, it's just a drop in. It
Yeah.
was a really nice trigger. It was heavier, but it felt so much better. That
Interesting.
and NYPD required that from Glock when they went to the Glocks, so that's how it got its name.
That's interesting. Yeah, the NY trigger, huh?
Yeah, I've only heard about it talked in a negative way. I didn't know.
Because of how heavy it is.
Exactly. Yeah.
Once you get used to it and you know it, and using the trigger, if you use that trigger reset,
Yeah.
it's there's no real, after that first round, there's no real heaviness to it because you're right there,
Right.
and it breaks so clean
That's
Interesting take.
never heard that one.
Yeah, I know, right? So actually, that reminds me too, because we've always heard bad stories about Glock triggers and stuff like that. Going back to the VA thing, like holy crap, we went way far off track, because you said that you actually had like a good story about the VA. So what was your experience with the VA? Because like I said, we hear a lot of horror stories.
And to make it even more impressive, it was during COVID.
which is
So
when everything
things
slowed down.
were crazy to begin with, and I didn't know either. I did all the paperwork and sent it in, and come to find out, I found out two things. One was that I think I said, I was diagnosed with hearing loss when I left the Marine Corps.
Right.
I just didn't know it. And the other thing was I didn't know that if you were in the Gulf, you automatically rate. I guess they're worried about illnesses to come.
Yeah.
So it was like 3 weeks, and I got a phone call. Welcome to the VA. You're a member of the VA now, and I'd heard all those stories, and I'm like, 2 weeks, and they're like, we got to go through some things. Normally, you would come in and talk to your doctor, but we can't do any in-person visits. So they did it all over the phone, and they scheduled me a hearing aid test, and told me since we're doing it the way we're doing it, we'll pay you mileage to go have your test done. So track your mileage, send it in, we'll send you a check. And I'm like, wow, just pay me to go to the doctor? So, I've never heard that one before.
Yes. Wow, okay, yeah, it looks like the government this one time was giving out money to the right place.
Yeah, exactly.
So went down to Charleston and did my test, and I don't know, maybe 2 weeks after that, my wife hands me a envelope. She goes, "You got a check from the government?" I said, "A check from the government?" She goes, "Yeah." I said, "Well, maybe
sure it's not a receipt.
Maybe
sure I know.
Yeah,
it's not a bill.
It's not a fee. Yeah.
I said, "I hadn't even sent in my mileage yet. I don't even know how they would know what to pay me."
Yeah.
And I opened it up, and sure enough, it's the old Statue of Liberty check from the U.S. government, but it said Veterans Administration on it. So I called them up, and a guy answered the phone. I said, "Hey, I'm just checking. I give him all my information." He goes, "Oh yeah, that's your disability check." And I'm like, "My disability check? I'm not disabled." He's like, "Oh yeah, you are." And I'm like,
someone telling you you're disabled.
Right. Yeah. I'm like, oh, okay. I always thought something was wrong, but
now it makes a lot of sense now.
Right.
I'm like, now you tell me? You just told me this years ago.
Right. Oh my goodness. So you open up, you get this check, you call them, and so it was due to the tinnitus and hearing loss?
Yes, and he said, the paperwork will catch up with it. Don't worry. You'll get this whole big packet explaining everything to you.
But you got some money before the paperwork.
Yeah, so I was like, all the horror stories you hear, and it was like by the numbers, smooth.
Wow.
Now, I still go at any time I need to do anything. I get a cold, I can go down to the VA and walk in, and they take me right in. And I've got an assigned group. You get in a group, so you have the same doctor, the same nurse practitioner, and the same nurses assigned to you forever.
Oh wow!
So you always see the same people. It's really a neat.
Yeah.
I'm interested if there's any people watching this
Yeah.
who have had an experience that's good or bad with the VA.
Yeah.
If you're on YouTube, drop it in the comment section because
Yeah.
that's the best story I've ever heard anyone say.
I know. I was in shock. Nobody has ever said anything like that. But my one and only big thing has gone great. And
Wow. That's good to hear.
so I mean, I'm due to go down there and have my yearly checkup and blood work, and then they'll send me the results, anything I need, and if you have prescription medication, they send it right to your door if you sign up for it.
But now you have these super legitimate hearing aids, right?
Yeah,
That's the
now I got
result of all
these
of
high speed, low drag.
Yeah.
I'm just over here thinking too. I'm like, well, I got ringing in the ears and everything
Yeah.
too. I think it's from the military, and
It's like, we've been shooting guns at the range for 5 years now.
under that metal awning, shooting a 50 cal. It's as soon as you pull the trigger, you're like, that was a flashbang.
They're looking through like, is your tinnitus, from the military, and they pull up an M82 video. They're like,
so that's not service related. There's actually the M777s in Morocco that when I first noticed it in 2017, pulling string on a 155 millimeter, that's when I noticed it. I was like, even with Ear Pro, you're not going to stop the scrambling of the eggs in your brain housing group. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, all of that wiring was a little different before that trip, I think. But but all in all, though, I'm great to hear that you've got, good support, though, and everything from the VA on that front. That's great. So, Excellent, man. Well, hey, I think unless there's anything else that you wanted to share, sneak peek on Sylvan there, I think we've pretty much got a good feel for things, and also some future content.
Yes,
To
definitely.
come. And so we'll definitely have Mike back on the channel for you guys too, especially our main Classic Firearms channel, when we take some product out to go test it and see how it runs.
Oh, last thing. Favorite gun.
Oh, yeah. So, all right, favorite pistol, favorite rifle.
Ugh.
Yeah, I know, on the spot.
Oh.
We don't let any of our
Yeah.
guests know we're going to ask this question, but if they watch the podcast or listen to it, they'd know. But here it is. Favorite
All right,
rifle.
so-
If you had to choose one, your favorite rifle, favorite pistol.
So I'm gonna change it all up on you.
Oh boy.
So I'm just gonna do mission specific.
Okay.
I
All
like
right.
that angle.
All right.
So we'll start small with the handgun,
Yeah.
and I would probably have to go with
Super 38 1911.
now, that would be a good one. But I think I'm gonna do
High point.
the old HK. What's the number? Mark
23.
20. Yeah.
The big boy?
Mhm.
That thick son bitch? Yeah, the Mark
Yeah.
23 45 is a big gun, but it is legendary. That's what Navy SEALs, that's been a special operator pistol for a long time.
Yeah.
Big.
Jay from Pew Science just did some testing on it.
Yeah.
With the Knight's Armament suppressor that it's paired with.
Good God.
It's like unobtainium on unobtainium,
Yeah.
of things.
Yeah.
And finally it's all together. And he said it was amazing. Like, it was just a pleasure to shoot because they're made to be together.
Right.
And that way, just,
That would be
Dude,
sweet.
that's on a bucket list.
So that's your I've got things to do mission gun, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right.
Then jumping up to the next level would be the MP5.
Oh, there you go. Okay, so is that your like pistol caliber setup, and then you'll go rifle from there?
Yep.
Okay.
Well, then we'll jump into the shotgun.
Oh, all
You
right.
can't- you
Okay.
can't skip over the shotgun.
Yeah.
And I've always been a fan of the Benelli.
Which one? M4?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I started out on the M1, so now I'm up to the.
Yeah.
Seen all
Right.
everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen all the in-betweens too. I had a M2 Super 90, I think, for a while. That one was a lot of fun, but the
That was
Benelli
a
M4.
surplus one, right?
It was. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was.
I've still got an M1 Super 90.
Oh, really? Wow, man. So, yeah, so those guns, just phenomenal shooters. Was the M1 inertia driven
Yes.
too? Yeah, yeah. So,
Yeah.
I mean, just fantastic shotguns, man. And then that M4 is just legendary because it's a dual gas piston design, super reliable, and it functions so well, and it just feels so good, man. So, all right, cool. I obviously agree with your shotgun choice.
Yeah.
All right, rifle. I know, right? It gets really difficult.
Yeah, this gets hard.
Yeah. Larry Vickers, he was so quick on it too. He was like M4.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the question
I
with
mean-
him is which M4.
Yeah,
Like, he's
exactly,
done
yeah.
all
And that-
sorts of clone builds.
Yeah, exactly.
And I would probably go with the M4, but probably the HK piston.
Yeah, so the 416.
Yeah.
Ironically, Larry
Larry
Vickers.
Vickers. Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, right, exactly. So yeah, the HK 416, a phenomenal rifle. I mean, we've got the MR556 sitting over there if you want to go play with it. So.
Ooh.
Yeah, exactly.
We just got to get that damn muzzle device off so we can throw on one of these Sylvan silencers, you know?
You should have seen him with the M27. He was like, I like this.
It's a very nice. Well, that's great. Well,
And
Mike.
then there's
yeah.
still more.
Oh, shit. All right.
You got to go longer than that.
Oh, yeah, you
Okay,
do. Yeah,
okay.
you're right. All right.
And then I'll probably stay with my tried and true Remington 700.
Yeah.
I was waiting for you to say
tricks
Ruger.
played to it.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Oh, no. The PSS, the old police sharpshooter.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Trick it out a little bit.
Cool.
Yeah. So do you have any like the clones or anything that you like were in service with or that you carried in law enforcement or anything like that?
No, and I want to do that. I want to do an A2. What I'd love to do if I could afford it, and of course Lewis Machine Tool does sell them, is do the A2 with the grenade launcher under it.
Ooh,
203.
Hell yeah. I would totally love that. So Colt actually makes the M16A2 replica that is actually like a very reasonable price. Just throwing that. I also think we have one sitting over there. So
Ah,
I'm thinking, is that the A4? Because they have the A4 one.
you're right. It's the A4 with the flat top. Yeah, but
Okay.
but you do have the carry handle that you can get separate. But Anderson, which do they have an A2 Or
it's,
is it?
It's A4.
It is A4. Okay, all right,
Yep.
cool. Yeah, it's just the design I was thinking about is it has the regular A2 handguard with the A2 stock, but it is flat top, so it's still technically A4, but it has that look. You know, what I mean?
M16s are just awesome.
They're
There's
so
something
much
about
fun.
them that just separates them from an AR-15,
Yeah.
and that just
They're so aesthetically pleasing too, and everything.
it's beautiful. I love personally. It's like the it's almost like a dissipator handguard where it has like the holes throughout it like a cheese grater,
Yeah.
and then you can put the M2 or 3 at the bottom of it.
Yes.
That one.
Yeah.
That's the one I think you're pretty
Yeah.
much
Yeah.
talking about there. Building out. That's Tony Montana's. That's Scarface's
that's
gun.
it, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it's that one. Okay.
Yeah, that's Scarface's gun, man. Say hello to my little friend, and
I
gets
I
clapped.
carried that one all through the Philippines and Okinawa, and
Oh, that's cool.
That's cool.
Yeah.
when I got to the desert, I traded it out for a straight up A2 and put a optic on it.
Oh, well, yeah, there's that. So did you miss the M16 that you traded in?
Nah, I mean the 2 or 3 was nice, but
Heavy.
I liked it. Yeah.
When it comes to one thing that I have learned, and now I'm a 2311, an ammo tech, right? I'm a pogue, right? At the end of the day, but still, even one thing I've learned is, hey, cool gear is cool, but it's also heavy.
Yeah.
and like Battle Arms Development there with their 4.6 pound rifle, the OIP, the ounces is pounds, ounces equal pain.
Yeah, I was gonna
right.
say.
So there's that. So that entire mindset goes into the infantryman's logic, which is keep shit light.
I used to feel for them weapons company boys when they see them with the mortar base plates and the tubes and the 50 cal in pieces and.
Oh yeah, just heavy. When one weapon system is 60 pounds.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good luck, guys. I know I made the right choices. I'm sitting over here in my lawn chair with the showers that I made.
I was going to say our 6th spear is crying over there as you say that.
Right. But anyway, well, great, Mike. Well, Mike, it's been awesome having you on,
It's
man.
been great.
Yeah, dude. And we'll have to do this again also, especially after we do some testing and we kind of do like a little round table, afterwards and
There you
a little debrief or something. But yeah, let us know, guys, down in the comments section. What do you think about some torture testing, some silencers, and among some other things? And of course, what are you excited for? What would you actually like to see Sylvan Arms make next? Obviously, you guys made some innovative products, which we've talked about quite a bit here, like with the QD adapters and all that type of fun stuff. If you would like to see something else like that, but maybe just me throwing this out there. So the adapters are cool, but one thing too is like if you have so let's say we've got a vertical grip on the Picatinny adapter, right? That is also adding length to the actual grip, Some people might not bother and stuff like that. Have you guys thought about maybe taking that same technology and throwing it into your own vertical grip or angled foregrip or something like that?
Yeah. We've
Did I just spoil something?
No, you just put another teaser out.
Okay, all right, cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so something like that too, where you already have a grip.
We're
and
kind of looking at some 45 stuff.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
So you're saying integrated QD? Into
Integrated
the grip?
QD into a grip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So you get like a Sylvan grip, you're getting a QD, M-Lock, QD, whatever, that's built right in, which I
That's
think
a
would
good
be,
idea.
yeah. So it's okay. You can, I'll charge you for that later.
Yeah.
But
We'll settle
like, we
that.
have
We'll
a
settle that
prototype.
later.
perfect. All right. Well, hey guys, we'll leave it off there. Ryan, anything else you wanted to add, man?
No, man. I think that's it. Mike, thank you for coming, man.
thank you
That
for
was
having me.
amazing.
Yeah, dude. And guys, let us know what you think about his favorite rifle, shotgun, pistol, mission specific choices there. That was good. I like that little caveat. So, Mike, again, thanks for joining us, guys. Don't forget to check out Sylvan Arms. As always, we appreciate you. God bless, and we'll see you next time at Classic Firearms.
See you guys.